to say, Matt George, ABC10, and the Locked On Kings podcast joining us now. Matt, hello. First of all, we'll talk about DeMar DeRozan, obviously important things to get to. It turns out that people in the Matthews Mattress Chatty House did not know that you have a tattoo on your body.
Yeah, which surprises me because I obnoxiously flaunt it. I'm trying to see if I can
sickening.
get it in here.
Yeah, there it is.
We got it right there.
There you go. There you go. Out of bed.
Yeah, got to get it.
Listening on the radio, he is showing us the tattoo.
And it is
on his arm.
It's awesome. And I got another one coming. The appointment is made. The appointment is made. I'm very excited about it. I got this tattoo right before the start of this past season, and I'm getting another one at the start of next.
Getting DeMar DeRozan's face tatted on your neck or what?
Full back.
Nice.
But it's going to be a tattooed DeMar DeRozan jersey. It's like actually tattooed on.
That's the way to go right there.
You're going to get rid of your optimism one?
that one is getting tatted over. Yes.
Perfect.
Forever optimistic, especially with DeMar DeRozan in Sacramento.
Yeah. What were your initial thoughts, or what were your thoughts when you first heard that the Kings were in on DeMar DeRozan? And then did your thoughts evolve at all as that process went on?
Well, first thought was, damn, Damian Barling and ESPN 1320, they have some damn good reporters over there. That was thought number one.
Okay, Lake Show.
I didn't mean to do that.
Not him.
Not him.
I didn't mean to do that.
That's tough.
Notice he wasn't involved in that. It was so not him. If DeMar had gone to the Lakers, he would have broken it. And then it's just my first thought is this doesn't happen in Sacramento. Like this doesn't. Like convincing a 6-time All-Star to sign with the Sacramento Kings. Now, it was a sign and trade. It's different.
Yeah, they traded for him.
In my opinion, it's really not, because you had him here in Sacramento. You negotiated the dollar figures with him and his team, and he had to say yes in order for the trade to go through. Chicago already said yes. San Antonio already said yes. It was on DeMar DeRozan to choose to take the deal and come to Sacramento or go to Los Angeles. So essentially, it was a free agency decision between Sacramento and LA. When in the hell has Sacramento ever won that battle? Unless it's
0 times?
Yeah.
That's a pretty good idea, I guess.
Now we're like 1-8, probably like 85. 1-85. So we're on the board a little bit. But look, it was a tremendous signing for Sacramento. The 24 hours of the wildest day of offseason acquisitions in the history of the organization that Monty pulled off, because technically Malik Monk signed that day. So you secure one of the biggest free agents in this class in Malik Monk, get him to come back and choose to stay in Sacramento for less money. Again, that doesn't really happen. And then you have DeMar DeRozan come and sign with the Kings on top of that, and then get the moment inside the Golden One Center. I thought it was a tremendous day. Truly, in my opinion, one of the best days, or a day that could go down as one of the best days in the history of the Kings if everything works out like I expect they will. But to get a 6-time All-Star to choose the Sacramento Kings, any of us who have followed the Kings for long enough know how big of a deal that is.
It's insane.
What do you think it says about the Kings and where they're as an organization right now? Like they did land a guy like DeRozan, and they did get Malik Monk to stay here with taking less money.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point, Jesse. I think that's how the culture, we can see the culture is changing right now. I also think it helps that you have a dude in De'Aaron Fox who is here, and De'Aaron was very much involved in the meetings with DeMar, and I guess went out to lunch with DeMar the day of and talked to him. So De'Aaron was super influential in that. I mean, you hear all these stories, right? LeBron James called Klay Thompson, like all these, the parts of the courting a free agent that go on. And typically it's the star player that gets involved. Well, De'Aaron Fox clearly had an impact on DeMar DeRozan's decision. Plus, I mean, I think the Mike Brown effect can't be understated, right? Like Mike came in and from day one preaches culture, and now the culture is changing. And the Kings did the right thing finally and extended his contract. And I think people take notice of that. Everybody loves to play for Mike Brown. And at the same time, I think the Malik Monk relationship epitomizes Mike Brown and how the Kings are changing, right? Because Malik and Mike go at each other more than anybody else. Like they jaw at each other. And we've seen it on the bench. We've seen it during games. And we've seen videos in the practice facility of them screaming and cussing at each other. And they have this relationship to where they both respect how much the other wants to win. They don't see eye to eye on some things clearly, like Malik Monk starting, which is going to be a big topic of conversation come training camp time.
Mhm.
But Malik still chooses to re-sign in Sacramento early, largely because he's playing for a coach that, even though they'll scream at each other, Mike Brown has put him in a position to be able to be himself and play the way that Malik always felt he should play. And lo and behold, it's made him into the best version of himself that we've seen in his NBA career. So the culture is 100% different. Mike Brown is right at the center of it. And then the buy-in from the players, the top guys. De'Aaron Fox completely bought in last season, and that was evident. Domantas Sabonis is completely bought in, even if he has his struggles. Even the guys that were struggling to play bought in. Like even Kevin Huerter bought in. He couldn't necessarily. I genuinely believe Kevin Huerter gave his all to try and be better on the defensive end of the floor. I just don't think he can do it to the level that Mike Brown wants. But everybody's bought into what the Kings are trying to do, and I think that speaks volumes.
Talking with Matt George, ABC 10 and the Locked On Kings podcast. Is the excitement about the DeMar DeRozan addition? Is it to you more about the basketball fit, or is it more the symbolism of, like, dude, a legitimate NBA player, potential future Hall of Famer who has like tread on his tires? This is not a version of DeMar DeRozan who's going to be your ninth guy.
Right.
He's going to start and he's going to give you 20 plus points a night. Is it more about that symbolism of everything you're talking about, the changing culture?
I think a good comparison is the Vince Carter signing, right? When the Kings signed Vince Carter, it was like, oh my God, Vince Carter's a Sacramento King. But we knew it wasn't Vince Carter. It was the sunset version of Vince. And he gave us some cool moments, great veteran leader. That's not what this DeMar DeRozan situation is. So there's similar euphoria of, oh my goodness, a multi-time all-star, potential future Hall of Famer is choosing the Sacramento Kings. How cool is this moment? And then you think about, okay, but on the basketball floor, the Kings just signed a guy that's averaged 20 or more points 11 straight seasons. The Kings just signed a guy that's played 74 or more games the last 3 seasons at 36 minutes a night and is averaging 25, 4, and 5 over that. 4 and 5 over the course of those 3 seasons. This is a guy that the fewest amount of games that he's played in his career in a season is 60. And that's happened once. This is a guy that has played 70 or more games in a season 11 times in his career. Like, age be damned. I don't care that he's going to be 35 years old. The dude plays, he's healthy, and he's a walking bucket. Like, and he more importantly gives Sacramento an option in an area where they lacked. And what I mean by that is, look, the seamless addition to this offense, or seamless fit next to Fox and Sabonis, is shooting, right? You think just add shooters, put guys on the perimeter. The Kings did that. Now, granted, 2 seasons ago, they had one of the best offenses the world has ever seen. But when it got to playoff time and they faced a Golden State Warriors team who knew how to take the DHO away and knew how to disrupt the Kings' movement offense, Sacramento struggled and had to lean super heavily on one guy, De'Aaron Fox, who broke his pinky, to carry them through. That DeMar DeRozan gives Sacramento another option. I think we saw this to some extent too towards the end of last season when the Kings committed more on the defensive end, sacrificed some offense. Malik Monk goes down, and it's truly De'Aaron Fox is the only guy to get this guy, the Kings, a bucket. DeMar DeRozan might not be a lights-out three-point shooter and add a tremendous amount of spacing to the Kings' offense. But DeMar DeRozan does not need a lot of spacing to be effective. Go and look at his film. He hits ridiculous mid-range jumpers over 1-2 defenders. He creates for his team. He averages 5 assists a game. Like, he creates for his teammates without being a point guard. And if the Kings, not just in clutch time, because he and Fox are the 2 most clutch players in the league, but think about when there's 5 seconds left on the shot clock at the end of a broken possession because the Kings tried to run a DHO and a defense stopped it. Okay, now Fox isn't the only guy on the floor that everybody knows the ball is going to. It could be Fox, or it could be DeRozan. And DeRozan, you have 5 seconds to work in isolation. Go and get us a bucket. Or even a responsibility, and a responsibility that DeRozan has that Harrison Barnes kind of had last season, but he'll do it better, is when the Kings are reeling, when they're on the wrong end of an 8-0 run or a 10-0 run, and they just need a bucket to stop the bleeding. DeMar DeRozan is the guy that can just go, all right, give me the ball, clear out, and let me go stop this.
Yeah.
So Fox has a little bit of help in that sense. So it's not a seamless fit offensively, but he's a smart enough and talented enough player to where it doesn't have to be for there to be a noticeable improvement.
And the thing that makes the DeRozan signing matter to me is you're saying all this because we know what he does.
Yes.
It's not, well, if he takes a leap, it'll be this. Or, yeah, hey, here's this kind of unknown guy, but we're going to rely on the Kings development staff to get him playing at this level. Like, there's none of that. This is just the thing I loved about this was just the Kings looking at their roster and going, we need to get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
This is a player that hit the gas day one, makes the Kings a playoff team. And fit anything else like that, fine. That you can figure out. What you can't figure out is, hey, what about Kessler Edwards? What can I know he's not on the team, but last year. Or hey, Jalen McDaniels, can he give you some minutes? Like, no, man, the Kings are past that.
Sure.
And that's what this symbolized to me from the Kings front office standpoint of like, we all knew, you did, I did, Jesse did, D'Lo, Casey, James, whoever, everybody in the Matthews Mattress Chatty House knew like, hey, now's the time to floor it.
Right.
You have to make a push this year. And the DeRozan move is a significant push, but B, not an all-in push because they still have ostensibly all their assets.
Right.
And that's the most exciting part about this to me is there's the basketball fit, there's the symbolism of that, but it's also like, hey, we don't have to guess.
Yeah.
We know what the Kings are getting out of this guy.
And that's a huge aspect of the deal too, is what you just said. You have your assets to do more. You added a 6-time All-Star without giving up a first-round pick. Now, I know you did a pick swap in 2031, which now all of a sudden to some people in the national media is a big deal, as if we care about what a pick could be in 2031 compared to what we know DeMar DeRozan is in 2024, 2025. Such a ridiculous idea to knock the Kings for that, especially when they didn't trade the pick away. They're just swapping with the San Antonio Spurs, who might be good with Victor Wembanyama. They might not be. Who knows where the Kings will be at that point in time.
I'm confident in saying it.
I think they will be too. Okay, great. You still have a first round pick. You can still technically trade that pick, and then whatever team acquires that pick just has the swap rights or doesn't have the swap rights with San Antonio. So you have your assets to do more.
2017, that's 7 years from now. 2031 is 7 years from now. Go backwards. It's 2017. That's so long ago.
Yeah.
Not worried about it.
Not worried about it at all.
Yeah. So it's like you have your assets to do more. I'm curious your guys' opinion on this too, because I've heard people say like the Kings are looking to do more now. And I get to some extent, like this roster isn't complete. You still need, I've been talking all off season long about the Kings need more guys that are 6'8", 6'9", 6'10". They just traded one of them away. They just lost one in order to get a guy who's 6'6". So they still need to do that. So maybe they still target a Dorian Finney-Smith or look for some depth pieces or whatever. Some people seem to believe they're still in on Kuzma. Maybe. I think it makes more sense for Monte McNair to hold on to those assets, ride into next season, and see what this core is. And maybe you find yourself in a position where, like 2 seasons ago, at the trade deadline, you're firmly in that top 5, top 6 conversation again. Like play-in doesn't seem likely. It's possible, but it doesn't seem likely. But you still know, hey, we're this piece away from legitimately contending. And if a player suddenly becomes available then, who's not available now, and it happens every year, then Monty can make that move at that time or even next offseason. I know fans don't want to hear patience, but I think that makes the most sense for the Kings to do. I wonder how you guys feel on that.
I don't hate that, but I'll turn that over. Where does Kevin Huerter fit then if he's sticking around?
That is a fantastic question because I am of the belief that if Kevin Huerter's on the outs with this team, and I think that's pretty apparent. That doesn't mean Kevin Huerter is bad. That doesn't mean that Kevin Huerter's trash. That doesn't mean Kevin Huerter's not valuable. In fact, we know from reports that there are teams around the league interested in him, and he's on a really, really good contract, and he has an elite skill. We were having this conversation amongst the media area over the last couple of days during the California Classic about like who starts right now. If this is the roster you bring into training camp, who starts at that 2 spot? I'm of the belief it should be. Say again.
That's my question for you. Can I host the show?
Go for it. Please do.
Hey, Matt, what do you think the Kings starting lineup's going to look like next year?
Great question, Kyle Madsen. Let me think about it. I was not prepared for this question. I think Malik Monk should be the starter at the 2. I think it makes the most sense for Malik Monk to be the starter at the 2, although I understand Mike Brown's hesitation.
Why?
Why do I think he should be?
Yeah.
Because I think you're putting your best 5 on the floor to start the game, and he's clearly part of your best 5. And I don't think the importance of him with the second unit, I agree, is necessary, but I think you can still have that importance while staggering your lineup like you already do without keeping him out of the starting lineup necessarily. Now, what I don't agree with is that if Kevin Huerter is a part of the Sacramento Kings, that he should just be back in the starting lineup. I don't agree with that. I understand if he plays better and he's hitting shots and spacing the floor, then okay, yeah, now we do it. But there's some people that believe, like, if Kevin Huerter's still on this team, yeah, he's your starting 2. Like, no, I think he's got to prove that he can beat Keon and Malik Monk if he wants that spot back. But I also don't know what Kevin Huerter looks like as a bench scorer. So I'm not of the belief that Kevin Huerter should be a starting 2 guard at this point.
I'm with you.
Where do you think their ceiling is at now with DeMar DeRozan?
I think this team should firmly be in the playoff conversation, but in the Western Conference, what the hell does that mean when there's probably 10 to 12 teams that can say the same? Like, the West is just nuts. So I think anything less than a top 6 seed is disappointing for this group. I think the Sacramento Kings bring DeMar DeRozan in believing that play-in is disappointing. But again, we kind of have to see what it looks like, right? So the ceiling, I think, is probably back in the top 4 seed, but this team is still not in a contendership conversation yet. Not that they can't be with this group. It's just they have not earned the confidence to be able to say that. But they're sure as heck a lot closer with a 20-plus point per game 6-time All-Star than they were before that.
What gets them into that contendership conversation? Is it like a Dorian Finney-Smith? Do they need a Kuzma, or is it like a 3-and-D type guy or whatever? Like, what do you think gets them over the edge?
I mean, I think the only way to get, like, from a player acquisition standpoint to get there is to go out and get another star, which I just don't think is realistic. Even if you bring in Kyle Kuzma, it's like, oh, that's good, but what does it look like? For me, what gets the Kings there is Keegan Murray continuing to grow, although he does not have to be for the Kings next season what DeMar DeRozan should be and will be, right? And I also think DeMar's ability to help Keegan develop is going to be fantastic too. I think the biggest thing is truly it's De'Aaron Fox as a 30-point per game scorer for a full 82 game season. He starts the season red hot, ends the season typically red hot. We know how dominant he can be in postseason games because we've seen it. But what does De'Aaron Fox look like, and how does De'Aaron Fox play, and therefore how do the Sacramento Kings play in January or February on a Wednesday night inside the Golden One Center against the Detroit Pistons? Those were the games that this Kings team just kept fumbling and falling on their face in, right? So to me, it's what the Kings already have here consistently playing at an elite level is what gets them in that conversation.
Matt George, ABC 10 and the Locked On Kings podcast. I was trying to figure this out as you were talking, because you said that the play-in would be a disappointment for the Kings, and I tend to agree with you. I have the West as tier 1. I have Minnesota, Oklahoma City, Denver, and Dallas.
Yep.
Are we all there?
Yeah.
We're in on that?
Uh-huh.
Tier 2, that's where I put Sacramento with New Orleans, and I put Phoenix there too. Because I know Phoenix had like a really unceremonious exit from the playoffs last year, but they were still the 6th seed, and they still have Kevin Durant. They still have Devin Booker. Like, I think Phoenix is going to be hard to beat on a night-to-night basis. I don't know that they'll be that tough of an out in the playoffs, but I think Phoenix is right there. And then in the 3rd tier, I have Golden State and the 2 LA teams.
Is Houston in that tier as well?
No, Houston's in the next one just below tier 3, because I just don't know about them yet.
I feel like they kind of missed their chance unless they have something coming up. Maybe Jalen Green just develops more, but
yeah, Houston has an opportunity to jump up into tier 3 for sure. And then San Antonio's there just because I don't know what Wemby is,
right?
And how Harrison Barnes and Chris Paul are going to impact that team.
I think the Spurs are going to be good. I think they're going to be good.
It might be scary, dude.
I think they're a play-in team.
The Wemby highlights from Olympic qualifying have been nuts.
Yeah.
Like it's you could see him kind of very slowly figuring it out here, or very quickly figuring it out, I should say. It wouldn't shock me at all if San Antonio is in the play-in next year.
So I agree with where you have the Kings. I also think that there's a big gap between tier 1 and tier 2. Like, I think tier 1 in the West is so good that getting any of those tier 2 teams into that tier 1 conversation is going to take something eye-opening, whether it's how they play or another addition to the roster. That's just the difference.
Yeah, I think I'm there with you. I could see Minnesota falling out. But I don't think New Orleans, the Kings, certainly Phoenix can do enough. I think with Sacramento, we talked about this a little bit earlier. Keegan's the piece for me.
Yeah.
I said this earlier. Like, DeMar DeRozan raises their floor. He makes them a playoff team. To me, I think something would have to go pretty wrong for them to not be a top 6 team.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're going to go any higher than like a first or second round, I think it all relies on Keegan and what he does in being aggressive and scoring the basketball consistently. Like that's just kind of what it comes down to.
I'm with you.
Unless there's another significant swing here, unless the Kyle Kuzma deal is still being worked out, and that's an addition they're going to make, and then we can kind of reassess what the Kings rotation looks like. But for right now, as the Kings are currently constructed, I think if they're going to get out of tier 2, it's because Keegan Murray made a pretty sizable leap.
I feel like acquiring DeMar DeRozan sets Keegan up to kind of take that leap, if that makes sense, because it's not necessarily like so much pressure on him to be like that guy, go out and create. More so like DeMar and Fox are going to get him open shots and all that. The focus is going to be on them. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with that. I wonder if Keegan, would you be excited or happy if Keegan got the call up to Team USA with Durant's injury? I don't think it would be Keegan, or I don't even know if it would be Keegan. But if he got the opportunity with Durant,
oh my God, dude, that would be the best thing that could ever happen to Keegan Murray.
Yeah,
I agree.
Let me say, like, as a basketball player, not as a person.
Yeah,
it's not going to be the best day of his life right now.
Keegan gets married. Yeah, well, I made Team USA once.
I got called up because Kevin Durant's calf hurt. No, I think that would be to like, and that's another aspect of the DeRozan signing. That kind of, getting a quality veteran who's been around the league and who's been in Olympics and who's been in big playoff games, getting him around the Kings. I think that could have a positive impact down the road, and I think that's the same thing. If Keegan Murray got called up to Team USA, I think it'd have a similar effect on Keegan, not on Team USA.
I'm not gonna lie to you though. I'm selfishly like happy that Lithuania was eliminated, so Domas can come home. And I think Keegan's getting kind of the best of both worlds right now because he doesn't have to go to Paris and play, but he's getting all the experience of working with Team USA right now and with the coaches and with the players. So, I mean, that's gonna be awesome for him too.
Yeah. Very, very good for Keegan. 30 seconds. Any summer league thoughts?
Boogie Ellis is fun. Mason Jones is balling. And I was hoping to see a little more from Keon and Colby, but they're playing fine, and I can't be mad at anything.
Very good. Thanks. We did like 7 minutes with Sean Cunningham on the California.
Oh, yeah. We got deep into the summer league.
It was too many minutes.
Oh, man.
We spent way too many minutes on it. So shout out to you for not taking us that deep into it. Matt, appreciate you. You can check Matt out on ABC 10. You can also dial into the Locked On Kings podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Matt, thanks for stopping by, man.
Appreciate you guys.
Good luck with your next tattoo.
I will cry.
There you go. Matt George. See you, Matt. Matt